What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Jonathan.
I'm JB.
I'm Mike.
All right, so like we said, an hour of talking shit to Jason. No, I'm playing.
That's exactly what this is gonna be. This is gonna be fun.
Wait.
So, top 5 Batmans of all time.
All right, let's see the top 5 Batman of all time. Let's see, Christian Bale. You know what I'm saying? The greatest of all time. Christian Bale. Look at me right here, Christian Bale. All right.
Before we go on, let's just recap that Batman.
Can you name 5 Batmans?
That's not the point.
Let's just recap that Batman. He becomes Batman. He fights, Sandman? Scarecrow. He fights Scarecrow.
Did you almost say
I did, because the fear mist. He fights Scarecrow. And then...
Even I knew that was scary.
Yeah. I drew a blank on the name. He fights Scarecrow. Then it sets up the Joker coming with the card at the end. Which means the Dark Knight takes place right afterwards, where he fights Scarecrow again. Then he fights... He doesn't have his powers anymore, but Scarecrow's the only villain in all 3 movies.
Yeah, he's the only constant.
Yeah. Then he fights the Joker. Then they wasted Two-Face in the last, 10 minutes of that movie. Mm-hmm. Then he retires for 8 years. Then gets a magic leg brace. Gets from the Middle East to a city in the United States that's under military lockdown within a couple hours with no money, with a magically broken back. And
magically fixed back.
I'm sorry. His back was broken and it's magically fixed. And he gets across the world into a city that's under lockdown in a day? And
Do we not see how ridiculous Batman is? Just in general.
The sea turtles, mate.
And then he retires again and gives the Batman title to a cop. And yes, I love Justin Gordon-Levitt, but he gives it to a cop who couldn't even take on a couple of street punks by himself. That is the worst Batman, my friend. The worst Batman.
Well, Ben Affleck is definitely number 2. Ben Affleck
was genius. He just didn't have a good script.
Great.
Ben Affleck was
great
number 2.
Batman.
Time out. Let me tell you something. I remember people saying, the fanboys out there saying, "Oh, Ben Affleck, no! How is the motherfucker y'all said was going to be the worst part of the movie the best part of the movie?"
Arguably the only good part.
And then...
So I'm on board Ben Affleck. I love Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck was number 2. And then what's his name? James Patterson? James Patterson? Mm-hmm. Is that his name?
I saw it opening day in IMAX. People walked out.
What?
Best Batman. Any Batman that actually loses fans, sign me up.
Yeah, he likes Twilight movies.
Oh yeah, man. It's the glittery for me.
The glitter.
It's the glittery for me. It gets me riled up.
Best Batman, hands down, no questions asked. Kevin Conroy.
Yes.
The
one we grew up with.
He is solid too.
I like
Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
I love Michael Keaton. He was the best part of that Flash movie. For my money, he was the best part of that Flash movie.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's 2 of mine.
I'm shocked that Jay didn't say George Clooney is his favorite.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I'm really surprised. Val Kilmer was pretty good.
George Clooney, my top 3.
Christian, oh my goodness. And I think I can't say Ben, only because I don't feel like they didn't give him Batman.
Like Henry Cavill, it's not that he did a bad job; it's that he was given bad things to work with. Yeah, he did his job, but the scripts did not deliver.
But I mean, DC was trying to rush to compete with the Avengers and Marvel. Build from the ground up.
They should have gave Ben Affleck his own movie. He wanted it. He was going to write and direct it.
Bro.
And Ben Affleck is a genius writer and an amazing director.
That's the problem with BVS. You have 6 movies worth of material and you cram it into one.
And that Martha scene, I guarantee you on page works, but it did not work in that movie.
But you got the death in the family.
Ironically enough, I think Ben Affleck could have directed that scene. But Zack Snyder could not have. He did not nail that scene.
Gal Gadot is shoehorned into this movie.
She had no place in it.
It's BVS.
And you really should have had a Batman movie first.
True. You could have Man of Steel and then have 2 Batman movies.
Yeah.
Batman's still trash.
I tolerate him.
I love the Bat family.
Yeah.
But my favorite DC character is Nightwing. Easily. Nightwing's my favorite DC character.
Nightwing is my favorite. He is Batman's greatest success.
I think so. I like Tim Drake, but it's definitely Dick Grayson as his greatest.
Yeah, his greatest success because he surpasses Bruce.
I definitely think so.
He can still have social connections. I can still have friends.
He has the drive of Bruce Wayne. He has the intellect of Bruce Wayne, but he doesn't have the trauma. Even though he went through the same thing, he's managed that trauma in a way that it doesn't define who he is.
He moves to Bloodhaven and turns it damn near into
a haven. He literally has a place in Bloodhaven called Haven.
Batman should be locked up in Arkham.
Yeah, there's a theory that he is.
I know
that everyone he connects with, anyone he comes in contact with, is really other patients or nurses or doctors.
I saw this thing that said that Batman's villains are people who went to school with no that Batman and Spider-Man's villains are the same, and that if you switch the villains, like they're both the same kind of, they're all crazy doctors.
Mm-hmm.
But if you switch Batman would lose to Spider-Man's villains, and Spider-Man wouldn't stand a chance against Batman's. And it's like, I could kind of see that.
I saw a post the other day that Spider-Man was like talking to the Joker, and the Joker's like, "Oh man, I can't believe it. I used to think that one bad day would ruin you. Are you still a hero? Like, you lost your uncle, and this happened, and you broke." And it was hilarious to me.
I do like the parallel though, because Batman is tragedy defining your entire life, and Peter Parker is like, because Batman went into that brooding, whereas Spider-Man used that tragedy to try to be better, and he spends every day trying to be better, not just do good, but be better,
and has the hardest choice. The whole point of the game is I either go after this villain or I pay my rent. I go after the villain, I get evicted.
And that literally changed comic books forever, because Stan Lee was like, I'm tired of these stories the way they are, where it's villain of the month, and he was like, nobody cares. He was like, I'm not writing about Spider-Man. Nobody gives a fuck about Spider-Man. I'm writing about Peter Parker. And Spider-Man is something he has to do. And that changed everything.
Spider-Man is something he has to do. Peter Parker is who he really is.
Yes.
Whereas Bruce Wayne is the mask, and Batman
is who he really is. And I will give it to Jason's man crush, Peter. What's his name? Edward.
His man crush.
Edward from Twilight.
No. Bruce.
Is it bad I didn't even know who the hell you was talking about? Like, I was like, who the fuck is that? Because I've never watched one single Twilight movie in my life. So I'm like, what the fuck's an Edward?
I had girls drag me to those movies. I've seen, unfortunately, all of them. They're very bad.
It's like, who the fuck is Edward?
Who the fuck is Edward?
Robert
like,
Pattinson, right?
Yeah.
Robert.
You said James
I
Patterson.
said James Patterson. Insert clip. Anyways.
Isn't James
Ross
Patterson a
said-
writer?
He said James Patterson, right? I'm saying,
And he sat there and said, roll back the clip, and you see him go, oh yeah.
I was like, why? I'm like, it sounds right, but that don't
No,
sound
it's
right.
Robert
Pattinson.
But I will say that the way they try to do an origin story of Batman's who he really is and Bruce Wayne's who he's trying to put on, they did nail that part of it. That movie falls apart to me though when he goes to Alfred. You're not my dad.
He's all you have. He is
But
the
not
father.
only is he all you had, you're Batman. Why are you whining?
Because Batman, there are people in real life that have had worse traumatic experiences and have led prominent lives. Nobody goes, Mom, Dad, I am the Knight. Like, no one does that.
Well,
I am the
to be
Knight.
fair, Mark Bernardin, he also does a podcast called Fat Man Beyond, and with Kevin Smith, they talk about nerd stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But he made the point that Batman isn't just about that night. It's also a spoiled rich kid from generational wealth who, for the first time in his life, loses anything, let alone his two parents.
True.
And then he's put into a world where he now goes without. He has all the money in the world, but he doesn't have that love. And he starts to see how the privilege he has affected him. So it's not just about righting that wrong. It's about righting the generational wrong that he's committed his whole life just by existing.
True.
Because Gotham is how Gotham is, partly because of the Waynes. The Waynes were there at the foundation.
Yes.
So his family made that city what it is, and all of the crime there, his family's responsible
They
for.
did nothing about. But there's also the criminally insane that he comes in contact with. Yes, Batman was invented to deal with thugs, petty crime, maybe even the mob, maybe. But when you incite Oswald Cobblepot, and now he has gimmicked weaponry, where he has an umbrella that shoots bullets, where now, hey, Edward Nygma was a regular smart dude maybe until like a guy in a tank and a little kid dressed in red, yellow, and green whooped his ass.
Yeah.
Now you're inside. It's the classic vision from Avengers. Your mere existence invites challenge.
So in Marvel comics, in the Challengers, which is kind of it's Miss Marvel, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and all that. I don't know if you read those, but they had this storyline a while ago, and they're still dealing with the fallout of it, called Outlaws, where it's kind of like the Civil War, where superheroes are outlawed, but they targeted teenage superheroes this time.
Only teenagers.
For this law, I forgot exactly how it went, but it was basically like these kids running around doing things, and at the same time was when Fisk was outlawing regular superheroes. So it's like those two things. So I think it was the Fisk law, but this group was going after the kids ones.
Okay.
And they keep playing on that theme of these villains only exist because you're here. The more you stop these bad guys, the more these bad guys pop up.
Oh.
If you were to go away, they would go away. I don't know if I necessarily buy that, but
bullshit. Because that's that Willy Wonka meme. Oh yeah, tell me more about these criminals who follow the law.
Yeah, and that is, I think that's
just outlaw guns.
That's what I'm saying. Well, politics aside, when we get into that conversation, it's just like, you can put as many gun laws as you want out there. At the end of the day, you're not going to stop a villain from being a villain.
Right.
And that's just what it is. You're taking away guns from the people who can defend other people and putting them in the hands of people who only want to kill other people.
True. I'd also ask you, across all of these things, the problem isn't the powers or the guns or anything else. It's our society is fundamentally broken.
Yeah.
We live in a state of... There's a reason why our generation and the generation after us are more depressed and anxious than any generation before. And a lot of it has to come down to the economy. And with the way that the world is going. We're going in a downward spiral, and it's affecting things. The American dream isn't attainable to a degree that it used to be back in the day. And even then, for certain groups and not others. But there's always been problems.
It's kind of like it's less of a dream. It's more like a
fantasy.
Yeah.
And I think that is causing a lot of other problems. I would say the only truth to the argument of in the superhero world is that once you see people flying and swinging from buildings, like, let's just rob a bank. Hold on. Let's have a cool gimmick and then rob the bank. I will buy that. Yeah. The villains have stepped up to match the heroes. Very much so.
And that's what I was saying. I was like, your mere existence incites challenge. I did have a question for you, because I talked to Jay about this constantly. He's like, bro, you gotta get the funding for it. As far as the MCU, I have said that, hey, man, y'all are making these shows and stuff, but there are gems that y'all are skipping over. One thing I spoke about was the Winter Soldier, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where Eli Bradley, he talks about this conflict with, or Elijah Bradley rather, he has a conflict with Bucky during, I think, the Korean War. He's like, yeah, we met. Yeah, he's like, I met him back in the Korean War. He's like, well, I met, kicked your ass. Yeah, we met. I'm like, bro, I want to see that movie so bad. Give me young
Have
Elijah.
you read Truth?
Yeah.
That's genius book.
Yeah.
Have you seen Falcon and Winter Soldier on Disney? Okay, so it's basically when Anthony Mackie becomes Captain America.
Yeah. I got the gist of it.
So one of the... Go ahead.
I think it was whenever... was it the end of Avengers where he gives
Endgame,
yeah, where he gives him his shield.
This show, he gives the shield to a museum. He's like, I'm not good enough to be Captain America, and Bucky kind of gets mad at him for it, and they give it to John Walker, who's a great character. He's a character that you learn to hate.
Yeah.
He's from the comics too, and I think even on the show by the end of it, he was U.S. agent.
Yes.
So he was in the comics during the Nixon era. Steve Rogers stepped away because of corruption in America, and the government hired John Walker to be the new Captain America. Dude went crazy, became U.S. agent, and he's been around ever since as kind of this government stooge. Yeah. DC kind of has Peacemaker filling in the same role.
Yeah.
John Cena's
to a degree. With this, it is really, a lot of people are like, well, he's not my Cap. Yeah. And Walker in the beginning has done nothing wrong. Like but the thing is, it's a job to him. The job to be Captain America.
Well, but here's the primary difference, and I think it's an important one, is that Steve Rogers, in the comics, a lot of things that I'll talk about get addressed in the comics far more deeper, articulately than in the movies. But Steve Rogers is the American dream. John Walker is America.
Yes.
It's very much what it is. Steve Rogers believes in the ideals that we speak about and maybe don't necessarily live up to.
Yeah.
Whereas John Walker is, I support my government. My government first.
Yeah.
And so when the government fails, he defends it. He's like, no, the government can do no wrong. And it's that devotion to it. But I actually didn't bring it up to talk about John Walker. It was Elijah Truth. Yeah. So in the comics, the first Captain America wasn't Steve Rogers. Like most things, they experimented on a black man first. And
word out to syphilis.
Yeah. Was the Tuskegee?
Tuskegee, yeah.
And so he became Captain America, and they used him for a while, and then they kind of buried him. Like, not literally, but they removed all records from him. And so I'm so amazed that they brought him into the show. And his
grandson is going to be
grandson is Patriot, yeah, from the Young Avengers, and they introduced him too.
So the thing is that in the comics he becomes like somewhat of a childhood, like he becomes like a childlike state.
It starts to impact his mind. A little bit.
Well, I think back to what you were trying to. We've had this discussion.
Oh yeah.
And so, because Mike wants to do a movie or a short film where he plays.
Not me. Oh, that was the Truth. It was really Truth, pretty much.
Truth is a great comedy.
Truth, pretty much. But it was more so. What I was talking to Jay about was Ronin, where I'm like, bro, we
Hawkeye
got
Ronin?
Hawkeye Ronin, where it's like Hawkeye, the show, I loved it, I did, but they went for the comedy feel, and I'm like, all the stuff he was missing, all the stuff I want to see him fighting the cartel, I want to see him fighting the mafia.
Well, I really feel like that was him. I don't know if Jeremy Renner signed on for anything else. I think he was like, I'm kind of done after Endgame.
Well, Jeremy Renner got in that barrel.
This was before the accident.
I know, but like after.
He's back acting now. He's out of.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he just.
Last thing I heard, he was like he wasn't sure if he was even going to go back.
But even before that, I think he was done with Marvel.
Yeah.
Like not like I don't want to work here anymore, but kind of like I've done all I can do.
Yeah.
So I think what he wanted from that show was to pass on the torch.
I also think he wanted to spend some more time with his kids.
Well, that's definitely why Chris Hemsworth is stepping back.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But him passing on the torch is cool. I love Kate.
Kate's a great character.
I love Kate, but I definitely feel like, hey,
Kate
man,
Bishop.
Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
I'm so proud.
Look at
round
you.
of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Come on, now.
I feel like there's.
I'm gonna start in the counter, putting a little star above your head every time you get something right.
Hey, I better see that in editing. Damn it! I earned my gold star on that one.
Like, say what you want about the MCU now, love it or hate it, but I feel like most things I talked to Jay about, I'm like, man, I would have went a different direction with this. Like, there are certain linchpins. I could introduce Blade in a natural progression wise.
I did not like introducing him for the first time at the end of Eternals. That was weird.
That was weird to me.
I would have
really
introduced him, and then not even
Strange.
seeing him, just hearing his voice was such an odd call.
I would have introduced him through Strange.
Strange is the only one currently in that makes any sense.
Like some interdimensional demons that we perceive as vampires. and they can only get through every 20 or so years, something like that. Whatever.
And when they finally get around to this Fantastic Four movie, if it doesn't take place in the 90s, I feel it's a misstep.
Yeah.
You can't have Marvel's first family come this late in the game. You have to retcon them back into being around Captain Marvel's time and then going into space.
The problem is I'm never going to get my Captain America and Wolverine crossover.
I just want to know how they bring in the X-Men without making it clunky.
And they did bring in the X-Men.
In an alternate universe, how do they bring them into the MCU proper? Unless they do, like, in the comics where
Worlds collide.
Yeah, Worlds Collide, where Miles Morales is now in 616 because the Ultimate Universe and 616 collapsed into one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I've seen you bringing in the X-Men with it making sense. Unless Xavier's just there constantly erasing everyone's memory.
They didn't... I just wish sometimes studios would let the directors go with their gut, because we could have got a total... Yeah, I love Paul Rudd.
But Edgar Wright's Ant-Man would have been crazy.
Oh my God.
Did you hear about that? You know who Edgar Wright is, of course, right? Shaun of the Dead.
Yes. Yeah.
So he was going for years.
He's the skinny dude, right?
Yeah. For years he was going to do Ant-Man. Like, I think he was the first one hired after, like, John Favreau. Like, after Iron Man, I think they wanted, obviously, Captain America, Thor, but Ant-Man is one of the founding Avengers, too. And I think they were trying to make a movie at that same time before Avengers, because Hawkeye and Black Widow aren't founding Avengers. It's Ant-Man and Wasp.
You know, I was never a fan of Ant-Man. Like, even a comic, even back...
He's a wife beater.
Yeah, I was never...
I was about to say that.
Do you know why?
I was never a fan.
I've seen it. I've seen the
I have the actual issue, but do you know the behind-the-scenes story of that?
No.
Finish your thing, and then I'll tell you, because the behind-the-scenes story is crazy.
He gave me, I guess because he can grow big, grow small, he gave me Apache vibes. Y'all remember Apache?
Yeah.
From Super Friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave me Apache vibes. Like,
Or Long Shadow, if you want to be...
Yeah. And so I was like, "You're just a knockoff." I mean, you're and like I said, this is coming from my opinion of not very much knowledge to comic books, but from what I've seen growing up. Let me make that clear. You white versioned Apache. You took a Native American who was solid. I enjoyed Apache growing up. He was one of my favorites, and you made Ant-Man. Now, do I know if Apache was there first or Ant-Man? No, I don't know. I know what I saw first, and I saw
When did Adam
first.
come out? Because Adam's in that conversation
Adam's
too.
in that conversation too.
So
Goliath?
Well, Goliath is he's just Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I just feel
I don't
like
think he can shrink. Can you shrink?
Depending on which version.
Okay.
But Hawkeye, Goliath cannot. When Hawkeye was Goliath, he cannot.
but that's just my opinion. I
I
feel
will
like
say that I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that Ant-Man started out not as a superhero.
Yeah.
His first story was in a comic book. Was it Strange Tales?
Yes.
And it was
Tales to the Astonish?
It's Tales to Astonish. Thank you. Those were all different. Marvel had a bunch of different anthology series, so it was Tales to Astonish. You're right. And it started off in that, and it was very much. I believe it was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. I want to say, doing their version of the Incredible Shrinking Man, a 50s horror movie. Sci-fi horror movie about this guy who accidentally Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but done scary in the 50s.
Gotcha.
And so Stan Lee and Kirby were doing that. Like the first one, there's no superheroics, there's no costume. It's a scientist accidentally shrinking himself and ants trying to kill him. And that was the original story. And then they brought him back, and then he was like, oh, let me use this. And he evolved. Like, that was the most organic origin story of a character because it wasn't meant to be a superhero. That was just a throwaway character that they liked and kept bringing back. So it wasn't them trying to, let's take that superhero. It was, let's do this weird sci-fi thing. And then that evolved into something else.
Right.
But to the point you made, Kevin Feige made a choice where Namor is no longer from Atlantis. They changed the name of his country and all of that because they didn't want to confuse it with Aquaman, which is the wildest thing ever. Because for all the shit Marvel gets for copying from DC, the one thing that you cannot argue is Submariner predates Aquaman.
The first
By
mutant.
far.
The first mutant.
But Aquaman is a carbon copy and way shittier than Submariner. And Marvel had to change because Aquaman's more famous. And it's just such a shame because Submariner's such a better character.
But they said that Feige was busy with something. He didn't really
But
step
he
into
did make that change. He was like, I don't want it to be Atlantis.
Oh no! I just said that Feige didn't step in and make a choice with Edgar Wright.
Oh,
So he could have defended and been like, "Hold up, no," because at the time the toys and white superheroes were bank.
yes.
Like nobody's gonna.
Well, Edgar Wright's thing was he never finished the script. He kept working on other projects, and so.
Oh yeah, his friend got cancer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. So movie kept getting pushed back. That's why he's not in the original one, because the original Avengers was supposed to have Ant-Man and Wasp. Because Joss Whedon did a pretty. I mean, the Satari's weird and out of nowhere, but I understand it's a movie. You have to have a bunch of people fighting. It can't just be Loki.
Right.
But Loki was he did bring the Avengers together. That's
Right.
straight from the comics. And so the Black Widow and Hawkeye were the only difference, and that's because Edgar Wright never finished the script. And eventually they let him go.
So in
This movie would have been
in
weird.
Edgar's script, they originally they were the running on the gun scene that was going to be in there, and then what he wanted, he didn't want him to be like a heart of gold type dude. He wanted him to be a crook. Like he wanted to be a thief.
But was he going Hank Pym or was he going Scott Lang?
I think he was going Hank Pym. I'm not sure.
I think he was going Hank Pym.
I think
And
he was
Hank
going
Pym
Hank
is not your traditional hero.
Right, he is not a good dude. And then you have
He invented Ultron. They gave that to Tony Stark,
Yeah, they
but
gave that
that
to
was
Tony.
Hank Pym.
and so what you have is they were gonna have the run on gun scene, and I think that he was gonna steal a valuable gem from an African country.
Oh.
From a museum. Now, what does this sound like? Doesn't this sound like the intro to another
To
movie?
Black Panther, yeah. Before I forget it though, so the Ant-Man being a wife beater thing.
Oh, yeah.
In the script, in the comic book script, it says because if you ever read that issue?
Yeah.
Okay, so Hank Pym is working on a robot. It's before Ultron, but I think it's what eventually leads to Ultron, if I'm not mistaken. And because he's trying to get back in good with the Avengers, because he's messed up one too many times, and he's on suspension. So he's building a robot to attack the Avengers so that he could save the Avengers so that they'll let him back in. And Janet, his girlfriend, I don't think were they married at the time? They were married at the time.
I think they were married.
So now his wife is trying to like check on him, like, Hank, what's wrong? What's wrong? And in the script it just says he, kind of like pushes her off him. Like it wasn't violent. It was just, like, stop bothering me. But the artist made it overly dramatic. So in the comics, this massive backhand. So Hank Pym being a wife beater was never in the script. The artist overdid it, and then when the writer went back to add in the balloons, saw that and was like, well, this is not at all what I wanted, but this is better. And he changed the story. So it was never written that he was a wife beater. It's just something the artist overdrew.
God, we at Retro Renegades do not support beating women or kids of any kind.
But
all right.
that's become like the core of his character since then. It's him always trying to undo that big mistake.
Yeah.
And it's been such an interesting thing that was just an accident. Like, that was never intended.
I feel like they're doing. Well, I don't even know how the movie's gonna be, but this Craven movie.
Oh, I'm not. I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not excited for it.
That and that Madam Web movie, bro.
Craven the Hunter is supposed to be a poacher. Why are you having him attack poachers?
And then he gonna get like, what? He get lion blood in?
Yeah, I'm just so annoyed.
He
by
wanna
this
be
movie.
Spider-Man so bad.
Oh my god.
But nah, bro.
You don't like Spider-Man either, or?
No, I mean, but like it goes back to what I know, right?
Right.
And we've had that discussion. All I know, Spider-Man is what I've seen in movies and video games.
What about the 90s?
The 90s cartoon.
I watched the '90s cartoon, but I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember much from it. It's it's been so long. So like you want to talk to me about some Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3? I got you.
Let's do it.
You want to talk to me about some Amazing Spider-Man 1 and maybe 2? Which one was 2? 2 was when
2
he dealt
was,
with the
Green Goblin.
Doc Ock.
No, I'm talking about
The
the
Amazing
Amazing
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Oh, Amazing Spider-Man? It was Green Goblin, yeah.
And Green Goblin and
Electro.
Okay, so I didn't watch the second one, but I watched the first one. And then Tom Holland, I watched. I watched the last one. I didn't even watch.
No Way Home?
No Way Home.
I watched No Way Home. Didn't even watch the first two.
Bro,
first
No Way
one or
Home
two.
is the older brother, the middle brother, and the younger brother.
That movie was so brilliant.
And the only reason why I watched Spider-Man No Way Home is only because One, it was Lauren and I's first date. It had just come out, so we went to the movies and saw it.
Good choice.
Number 2, Tobey Maguire.
Oh yeah.
I love.
You know, it's crazy when they, number 2 came out. I was on YouTube, like on the trailers. The reactors were like doing the
Far
reacting.
From Home.
Yeah, and I'm commenting, and they're like I was like the multiverse. Oh, Toby and Andrew have entered the chat, and people were calling me crazy. Oh, dude, it's the multiverse. It's not the multi company. Da da da. And then No Way Home comes out, and then I get all these like replies. Dude, you called it. You called it. I was like, bro, I called this shit years.
I love Marvel. I'm always Marvel first, but I do have to give credit where credit's due. That everything Marvel's trying to do now. And I'm sure they'll do a good job. No Way Home, I thought was pretty good. I thought they did it well. Mm-hmm. I have faith for Deadpool 3 because they're going to be the next one that brings everything in.
It. Oh yeah. What do you think about Secret Wars?
But we'll get to that in a second. But the Arrowverse did the crossover stuff with old properties so brilliantly. What? You disagree?
You'll get mad at me.
No, disagree. Feel free.
I've never seen Arrow. Around the time, look,
holy shit! I actually watched the Green Arrow and you didn't.
No,
what the fuck?
Hold on.
Hey, hell froze over. I want you to put like right here.
He does deserve this.
I want you to put like an ice and then flames and then that bitch turning into puddle throughout this whole thing. Holy shit!
Around the time,
hey, ding! You know what I'm saying?
No. Around the time it was coming out, I was stationed overseas and.
Using your military background. Yeah. Okay.
I'm serious. So
I'm just messing with you.
I was watching like crazy Japanese game shows.
That's fair.
But Arrow. So whatever I did watch that was Western or Americanized or whatever had to be on DVD through the ship. I didn't have access.
And that's
to that.
fine. But Arrow does the multiverse stuff. They brought back all the properties from all the old stuff. Okay. They made Brendan Roos Superman badass, which is insane because that movie sucks. No. Superman Returns, that's not a good movie.
I think Brandon.
He's good.
I think Brandon is good.
He is good. And he's a main character on the Arrowverse. He's on Legends. He started on Arrow and then moved to Legends.
He became Adam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
The other shrinking guy.
Mm-hmm.
The other the third shrinking guy.
But his Superman became badass on that shit. They brought back a conclusion to Smallville. Like, they did a lot on that. And so Marvel...
What's the name gets rid of his powers?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so Marvel now doing it, it's cool and all, but it's like, you're now competing with a CW show that nailed it. You have all the money in the world. They had nothing, and they nailed it. That's a hard task to beat.
Yeah, that's crazy. No. Who else? I said that Ronin movie should exist. Yeah. I feel like we got to get Venom in here somehow.
That's what I thought. Manu Bennett played in Green Arrow as Deathstroke.
He was good in it too.
He was fantastic.
I love that storyline.
Like, have you ever seen Manu Bennett in anything else?
Yes. And I'm drawing a blank on it. Tell me some of the stuff he's done.
Spartacus.
Thank you. That's what it is. I love
Crixus.
Can you explain to me how they're bringing Spartacus back?
Crixus plays dead?
Yes.
In Green Arrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he nails it. But how the fuck are they bringing Spartacus back?
I don't know, man.
They're doing like a weird alternate universe. Like, why?
This is my first time hearing this. I don't know, and I'm a huge Spartacus fan.
Dude,
we could have a whole discussion talking about all Spartacus. Oops. And so
okay, I have one more question for Mike, and then let's end this podcast talking about Spartacus.
Okay, it works.
Why do you hate Superman?
Because he okay. Because the only thing he can't do.
I have to know this.
Because the only thing he can't do is something he ain't tried yet. I literally watched the death battle, fucking Goku versus Superman, and this motherfucker was pulling planets, a string of planets with a chain. Where the fuck did he get that chain from? Ain't smart. Home Depot, Lowe's. I need to know because I need to hit the trailer.
So your hatred of Superman comes because he's fan fiction.
Lazy as fuck. That wasn't fan fiction. That's not fan fiction. They used a real comic. That motherfucker was pulling a string of fucking planets. This motherfucker sneezed a galaxy away on accident. On accident.
Superman is...
That's in the comics. That's in the comic. He sneezed a galaxy away on accident.
I haven't read that issue.
Yeah, look it up.
But Superman is...
Pissed me off.
Yes, he's too overpowered. I will grant you that. But the storyline is, what do you do when you have that much power and you still want to be good?
World of cardboard. Cool. I got you.
It's Superman. It's Clark Kent is what makes Superman interesting. That heart, that soul, that life, like
it's the same concept
as the Hulk.
It is. It's the same concept even as Spider-Man. It's not about Spider-Man. It's about
Clark Kent,
Peter Parker,
and about the power that the Kents had on him.
Explain to me. Why can Superman beat the Green Lantern? Why? If willpower is my whole thing, I can't encase you in an unbreakable box or whatever. This motherfucker beats everybody. Does he not struggle?
No, he doesn't.
Batman kicks his ass.
But Batman works hard. That's why I tolerate him. He works hard.
I mean, Black Adam theoretically destroys Superman. I mean, it's magic.
But that's because Superman's one
His
weakness
is magic.
This is magic.
Like, I never understood.
Like David Copperfield could probably whoop Superman.
The fact that you mean to tell me that Harry Potter could whoop Superman's ass?
Yeah.
But it is a very weird thing to me that Shazam, every time I see Shazam meet up with Superman, and you could say it's because he's a kid, he doesn't think things through. I don't see how Superman powers through certain things.
Say Shazam's real name. Captain Marvel.
Oh, you want me to say Billy Batson?
No.
Yeah, it's Captain Marvel. Shazam was the wizard. Which Fawcett made these things.
I think you also have to look at what era Superman was created.
Because this motherfucker couldn't fly at first, and now he's pulling a string of planets.
Well, hold on, man. Like I said, you have to look at the era Superman was created in, right? We were war torn.
We're not yet in war.
So, but we were building.
World War
We were
II.
building the America, the Golden Boy, what we were needing. And so that's what Superman is. Superman is...
especially if you
the
read
hope.
those early issues.
Yeah.
People keep saying comic books are woke now. Mm-hmm. Sit down. You don't know what you're talking about. Go read the early Action Comics. All it is Superman battling corrupt businesses, corrupt government officials, helping the environment. It's all leftist propaganda, which I support because I agree with. But that's all Superman was. It started as that.
We're going to cut that part out.
I forget.
Superman was very woke, and it was very much about we're poor, downtrodden people who have nothing, trying to battle this unstoppable force that is corporate America, that is an overrun government who doesn't care about the people, only cares about the rich. And that's all it was about. I think issue 2, he fights a banker.
But that's what I'm saying.
The embezzler.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to understand why he was created. You know, it
was fantasy fulfillment for 2 high school kids who had nothing.
I have a strong work ethic, so I don't. A lot of the stuff that happens with him, I don't really connect with.
But ironically enough, the people who created him to represent the workers when people were oppressing them. This isn't, we said war term, but what would be more accurate is coming out of the Great Depression.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
So it's people who were living in the Great Depression who had nothing, while these fat cats were sitting on their King Kong movie that you're talking about, the Peter Jackson one. How that kind of like that world. These kids were living in that, and they were like fantasy fulfillment. So here's a hero who is stronger and better than the rest of us, fighting for us because no one in power is. That is what Superman represents.
And that's what the S on his chest, he's always said, even in early issues. Now, Superman is a comic I have picked up. So, because he's my favorite hero. So I have picked, and the S on his chest has always been the symbol of hope.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be that for the working class, for the world, for us.
So I understand he's overpowered thing, but it's always been to help those who can't help themselves.
Give people who can't a dream.
See, but that's what Spider-Man is to me. Spider-Man, but he relates more to me. Like this kid, this kid is dumpster diving. Like
now we're talking about. So Stan Lee changed the game because of that.
Yes.
But without Superman, this whole conversation wouldn't exist. There was nothing before Superman. You had Greek heroes, you had mythology heroes, but American mythology, which is arguably the comic book, was started with Superman.
I agree, and that is something else that kind of messes with me too, where he meets Zeus and Hercules and all these other guys, and I guess you say, depending on who writes, does not struggle. Like when you meet Atlas, and you don't struggle, I have a problem with it. Now there are issues where Atlas wanted to go to his daughter's wedding, and
Superman held up the world so he could go to his daughter.
And then he's like, "Did you think I was gonna?" He's like, "Point," but he's like, "Did you think I was gonna come back?" He's like, I was kind of getting worried. The fact that Superman struggles there.
Well, yeah, he had to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, once he gave the world back to Atlas, he passed out right next to Atlas.
No, I got it.
Like, ding.
Right. But what I'm saying, the fact that Atlas is like, hey, man, I'm about to hand it off to you. You good? He's like, I got it. Oh. That is the Superman I like to see. I don't like to see Superman.
But what is your thoughts on him getting absolutely destroyed by Doomsday? Absolutely destroyed. I mean, he met death. I mean, he was literally killed. It doesn't matter. But you're also saying that he is overpowered.
But it's comic books. Everyone comes back from
that.
I know. There used to be an expression back in the day that the only two people who stay dead are Uncle Ben and Bucky, and yet Winter Soldier's a character. Back.
But that's what I'm saying, man. You know, Superman he's hope. He's for a better future, man.
He's to work for the working class. Mm-hmm. It's someone powerful finally helping the little guy.
Like, do you think, like, honestly, you like Spider-Man so much. We'll talk about Spider-Man. You know, Spider-Man doesn't come out as Spider-Man because, you know, in what I've seen. You know, because he doesn't want to be known as Spider-Man. He wants to be known as Peter Parker. Like, Superman has all the power in the world. All the power in 7 universes.
He could be a god. He could be on Earth.
He could be, but sometimes they do create him to be a god. I think there was a woman in the comics, like, she thinks that Superman is her guardian angel at some point.
Well, you also remember Krypton was a world full of people like Superman. Like they
had a red sun.
They had a red sun, so they are like humans. The thing that makes him Superman is our sun.
The radiation from our sun. Yeah.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, him coming to Earth, being that person that can only absorb that radiation, of course, it's going to make him more powerful than anyone else.
I just like what to me. All right, so if I'm the villain, how the hell I turn the sun off? How do I?
Lex Luthor's done it. I mean, Lex Luthor's come up with ways to stop him and prevent him. And you gotta love the fact that his ultimate villain isn't super powered. It's a rich dude.
Yeah,
it's a genius. Yeah. I mean,
but it's also representative of corporate America.
The ultimate villain
is Jeff Bezos.
Fuck you, Bill Gates.
Oh shit.
Jeff Bezos is better though because he's also bald.
Yeah,
perfect fit. But yeah, I can see what you're saying, but it's like, okay, so the progression of if you go back to the MCU, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about the conflict between Cap and Iron Man the whole time. I see why this
Iron Man, aka Batman.
Nothing similar.
So similar.
Not similar.
Not at all.
In the comics, Tony's an alien. I've had this conversation with him. Yeah.
So Spartacus.
So the progression, you see the conflict in the story of, okay, well,
this was Civil War?
Well, even before Civil War.
Oh.
Like when they first meet, like he's like, Mr. Stark, Captain.
Oh, we're talking about MCU or we talking
about MCU? You're talking about MCU. And the story progression of where the stories pretty much end. They talk about, hey, you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play. You're not. For Tony's whole life, he's been privileged. Who do you really care about? What do you really care about? Because you were treating Pepper like shit, even though she was going to bat for you, right? Until you had that accident, and even after you had that accident, I privatized world peace. It's been me. It's Iron Man, and though yes, Iron Man kicked it off.
It is very much. He is very egotistical.
Right. You have Cap who came from a time where, hey man, I got your back. Yeah, I'll lay on the wire for you. And he
That's why he got his powers, because he jumped on the grenade.
Right.
And they were like, he's the guy.
Right. Mm-hmm. So he comes out of the ice into a world. You come into Avengers, but more so I want to lean in towards the Winter Soldier. You got all these cameras and shit. There's no trust. You're like, hey, bro, like back in the day, you know, I served my country. You give me a white picket fence, so a wife, and you send me on my way with the house. You're like, nah, we can't do that. We got threats out here. The whole problem is, hey, Nick Fury, you need to tell me. You need to put me on the level, dude. I'm working for you. And Nick Fury's like, I don't got to tell you a goddamn thing. So you see the progression of, yeah, this is why Civil War happened. Everything that happens with Tony is out of guilt. They didn't really touch on the demon in the bottle, but he starts drinking heavy.
I do think that's where they were going. Mm-hmm. And then I think Avengers became popular. Mm. And then they were like, we are not making our main character an alcoholic. Because Iron Man 2 was setting up demon in a bottle. I honestly believe Iron Man 3...
You see him partying, he's drinking heavy.
I honestly think John Favreau wanted to do demon in a bottle, and that's what he was setting up. But then Avengers came out and that took made $1 billion, and Disney had just bought it. It was still being produced by Paramount at the time, but Disney had just bought it, and they were like, Robert Downey Jr. is the face of everything. Right. You're not making him an alcoholic in the third movie. So they gave him PTSD. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why John Favreau stepped down and Shane Black directed it.
So then you have...
I don't know that for sure, but I think that's why he did.
You have Civil War, and they have that conflict.
Because they never touched the alcoholism
let me back up. Avengers. Big man in a
tiny suit.
Tiny man in a big suit.
Take that away, and what are you?
What are you? Billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Yeah.
But I know 10 guys worth 20 of that. You not the guy to make the sacrifice play. And what does he do at the end of the movie? He makes a sacrifice play, but it doesn't really pan out. It pans out to his PTSD and, oh, dude, I need to build Ultron because y'all didn't see what I saw.
But they really have ultimate endings. Tony Stark the snap was the best thing that ever happened to Tony Stark. And he gave that up for the rest of the world, and Steve Rogers went home to Peggy. Like,
and finally has a life. I've been working. I went into the ice. I wanted... There are guys putting their lives on the line. Why should I be no different? We're on the brink of war. Boom. War is going on. I make the sacrifice play. I go into the ice. I come out of the ice, and I'm still working. I have no life. Yeah. He even tells Falcon, he's like, you found a place in Brooklyn? He's like, I don't think I can afford a place in Brooklyn. All he does is go on missions.
Yeah.
Black Widow constantly is trying to put him on a date throughout Winter Soldier. I don't think I'm ready for that. Lip piercing?
Yeah. It is interesting.
These guys symbolize hope bigger to me because they are closer and relatable in the sense of, hey, I have done wrong in my life. In Tony, we need to be responsible. Oh, Sokovia.
But that goes back to Stan Lee trying to make a soap opera. Marvel Comics, because of Stan Lee, and I give Stan Lee the credit for it because that, whatever credit you want to devote to Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, that's great. But Stan Lee is the one that wrote the dialogue. He wrote the things, and he emphasized the interpersonal stories. And, I mean, as much as I give the credit to Stan Lee, the person who I think did it the best was Chris Claremont in the X-Men run. They turned these into soap operas. Marvel is a soap opera. It is a continuing, evolving story with these characters about people's lives. If you take away the superheroics, very little in those stories change. DC is Greek mythology.
Yes.
It's overpowered people who have an effect on people's lives, and that's what's interesting.
Very much so.
So Superman is still an icon of hope trying to help people, but he is a larger-than-life character doing it. And he interacts with us in the guise of Clark Kent, but he's still larger than life. Batman is a traumatized little kid, and I think people like Frank Miller have tried to really play into that, and that is the version we have now. But at its start, it was an overly smart, overly rich dude just being a detective because he's bored. Like, his parents dying was added to his story.
Bro, all he has to do is go to therapy. You know what I'm saying? There's this guy on...
But that's what I'm saying. Like, when he started, It was just... I'm a rich dude who's smart. Right. Let me have fun solving crimes.
Right.
All of DC's characters are larger-than-life icons. All of Marvel's characters are people.
What is the saying? DC is gods pretending to be human, and then Marvel is humans pretending to be gods?
Yeah.
Yeah, but It is,
but that's what I think you're connecting with is the humanity of it. That DC has the problem with DC is they've tried to go and put all of that in, but it wasn't there from the start. Whereas Marvel was built with that. True. Even in the olden days with Namor, the original Human Torch, and Captain America, it was very much Captain America just trying to.
Human Torch was in a suit.
Well, it was a robot.
Yeah, I mean a robot, but then it was a suit.
Yeah, but it was a robot. It wasn't a human being. Yeah, it was an android. But he was trying to be human. Namor hated humanity, but hated the Nazis more. Like all of those characters were trouble, and that's always been Marvel's thing, and that's why I think they're more relatable than DC.
Very much so.
But you can't shit on the DC characters because they serve the purpose they're designed to serve, which is larger than life heroes.
Yes. It's
the difference between Reacher and John McClane.
Okay.
Reacher is this larger than life hero who's smart, strong, doesn't really have any problems and just kind of solves problems all the time. Yeah. But he's still a badass and you enjoy watching it. Right. John McClane gets his ass beat the entire time, but he still comes out on top.
That's what we love about a hero. They lose.
But I'm just saying, you just said yourself, you like Reacher. It's the same
I do like Reacher, but I'm like, okay, well, who am I more like?
John McClane, obviously. Right. But it doesn't mean you can't appreciate what the other one brings to the table.
No, I got you.
But let's get to Spartacus. Because I do want to talk about Spartacus. I fucking love that show. And
have you ever seen Spartacus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stephen S.D. Knight, who got to start on the Buffy and Angel shows.
Boy.
So it goes back to Buffy. Everything good on television comes back to Buffy.
Man,
how you feel about Doc Tori's wife?
About who?
Doc Tori's wife.
Oh, yeah.
Tragic. Got put in a shitty situation.
Boy, I turned it off.
You turned it off?
I turned it off. I couldn't finish the episode. I was watching it in college, and I was like in the corner. I was shitty. I was like, man. He's like, oh, she was on the die. I was like, she took the blade. Should have died. Should have held your man down.
I'm bad with names. The annoying Asher.
Asher.
I think the new show's about him.
Really?
I believe so.
Because Asher, he's a villain and he plays it so well.
Oh, he kills that.
And I fucking hate him. And that's how you know a villain is doing a great job.
Oh, what was the blonde guy's name? Who Blood and Sand.
Oh my god.
Oh, I know this.
I loved him. He was so cool. Like
his death angered the shit out of me.
No lie, man. How long did it take you to appreciate the new Spartacus? Or did you ever like him? Because I liked him by season 3, but season 2 was so hard.
I didn't. I didn't like him at all.
Even by the end?
Even by the end.
It was rough.
The season 2 I had a hard time, but by season 3 I did like him.
It was rough for me.
It's when you love
the first dude was so brilliant.
When you love what's his name?
But he died. That's why they did it.
Well, I know he died of
cancer.
Cancer, yeah.
Lucy Lawless, though.
Ooh.
The gold paint scene.
Yes. Oh man.
Gold paint
scene.
Yeah.
Whenever she sets up was it?
I knew you're talking about.
The names, man.
It was such weird names. But
right? Oh.
Andy Whitfield played the original Spartacus.
He was so good.
And then Pana Hema Taylor played the next one.
But by season 3 I did like him. I did enjoy him.
I couldn't get it, maybe because I know, right?
Yeah.
Andy Whitfield was probably
the smartest thing they did was that mini season in the middle though.
Yeah.
Because if they went straight into the new Spartacus,
you'd be like, wait a minute.
But let's be real. Everything you say, we go back to I think his name is Pete. Let's see, John Hannah. Yeah. Right? He was. I was introduced to John Hannah in The Mummy, and he was such a weak little punk, man. Yeah. And so then he becomes, and then I watched Spartacus, and he's this badass, calculating art villain.
Bro, how are you fat and skinny at the same time?
It's a skill.
It was really I didn't like him. I think that was bad casting in my opinion. I think they could have got somebody better than John Hannah, someone more believable.
Okay.
I think he did pretty decent.
He did decent. I just think it could have been done better. I think John Hannah was a bad casting.
You do have
choice.
this issue though, where you see you hold on to roles too much.
I do.
Like that is a thing that continually I learn as we do this podcast. The first actor you see play the role, that's it. And the first role you see an actor in, you kind of lock in on.
Well,
it.
that's not entirely true.
That's who he is from there on out.
Well, that's not entirely true. Let's look at the Punisher, right? The Punisher has been, to my knowledge, has been played by 3-4 actors.
4 that I can think of off the top of my head.
And
live action, I can't cartoon.
John Bernthal.
Let's do it.
John Bernthal.
Yes. Thomas
Jane.
The dude from Rome, I forget his name. Ray.
I don't know. That was from that
Warzone.
I never watched Warzone.
In Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah. So for me, my very first Punisher that I saw was Thomas Jane, and I don't. As much as I love Thomas Jane as Punisher, John Bernthal forever and always.
He killed it.
Fucking murdered
He
it.
did. He is the best. I'll give you. He's the best Punisher.
Like that.
Warzone's a damn good movie though.
It's on my to watch
list. It gets
list.
away from all of the emotions, and it's just
him punishing.
Let's fuck shit up.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I never saw it.
Have you seen Rome?
Yeah, I've seen Rome.
The bigger dude from Rome.
Yeah.
He's the Punisher.
I mean, I know.
Oh, okay.
I never seen Warzone movie.
But that's who's playing it. And it's just let's kill people.
But I see your point whenever you're saying that because Andy Whitfield will always be Spartacus to me.
Yeah.
But I've also seen the original movie that it was based off of. And he was a good Spartacus, but...
Well, I was talking about the other guy, too, of like, I don't think it was a good job. I think you're punishing because you typecast him from the Mummy.
Yeah, but I also, just watching him play that role, it just seemed out of character for him. Like, he didn't seem like he transferred into, that role very well. I mean, he did a good job.
I liked him.
I think a different actor could have done better. Maybe someone more believable to handle a woman like Lucy Lawless.
Yeah.
Because Lucy, that
ain't...
Like, it just...
But I always took it as she was handling him. Like...
And you can see that in a lot of the
I thought that's
scenes.
how they were intentionally playing.
Is that... Maybe I'm just looking at it from the wrong perspective.
Yeah, he's not handling her. Like,
he thinks he's handling her, but I always took it as she was outsmarting him at every turn.
It's one of those...
But he knew everything.
It's one of those... I'm
Thing
gonna
is, I don't think...
let you think that.
He was one of those people where I'm gonna let you think you're getting one over because he knew the whole time she was fucking Crixus.
Yeah, but I never took him as the mastermind. I always took her as kind of she ran shit.
Yeah,
but he shut that shit down at the very end of near the end of the first season, where he was killing everyone to rise up through the ranks. The character itself was really well written.
Okay,
the character itself.
Steven S. Denied, man, that dude knows how to write.
Really beautifully done. I just think the casting, I can't get behind John Hannah.
Okay.
Like I would have thoroughly and personally.
I think Lucy Lawless did something.
Lucy Lawless was amazing. No problems with Lucy. She did her damn thing. Even what's his name? What is it?
The little kid?
Nah. Craig Parker. Craig Parker, who played, who was the one who captured Spartacus initially.
Yeah.
Was fantastic. Craig Parker is amazing. I love him as an actor.
I love the over the top blood too.
I didn't know him by name.
The digital everywhere.
It made me so happy. I was like a kid in the candy store watching that.
I wasn't a fan.
Really?
I wasn't a fan.
I loved that.
I love like I'm more fond of practical effects.
Generally, I am too, but there was something about how over the top it was. It was just fun.
It was. I gotta agree with John on that one because like seeing that blood splatter and it's digital, but like
it's so over the top that it crosses over
to fun. It's Cocaine Bear of TV.
Yes. It crosses over to this is a comic book.
Yeah,
like this is comic book level over the top nonsense, and I'm here for every second of it.
I still catch a tear when. Go ahead.
Nah, it's actor. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I still catch a tear every time I see Crixus and Spartacus go 2-on-1 against what's his name, Themistocles? Or...
Yeah.
Oh, that's off the shoulder jump.
Yeah, and you know he taps the shield, he jumps off and cuts him down, and man, I'm like,
did you finish the show or?
I finished it.
I love when they're rebels too. Like after they're out and all that. Like I love that. Like,
but it was, there was a lot of mistakes made.
but it's a show. It's not. It's not portrayed. If you watch Spartacus for historical accuracy,
No. I'm talking about watching a story like how Mike is sometimes when he watches, like, oh, I would have done this differently.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things when I watch back, because I own every season on Vudu, so
I got the DVDs.
I have season 1 on DVD. Then I
just bought the box set, like the thing that came with all of it.
Yeah, I wish I was smart.
So speaking of,
It's only $20 at Walmart. I don't know if they have it anymore. But
what's up, Mike?
you in the bargain bin type thing?
no, it was on the wall.
Oh,
They got TV shows for the cheap at Walmart. A lot of shows are like $25.
man, I need to make a stop.
You can get Married with Children for $25.
I just got Grimm. I bought the whole.
I've
Grimm
never
set.
actually got into Grimm.
Bro,
It's right up my alley. But I
Grimm
never
is-
got into
is
it.
that the-
I feel like Grimm.
Grimm, the
I
fair-
feel like you would like Grimm.
It's
fairy tales?
definitely right up my alley.
The fairy tales?
Yeah, it's like
Ding.
Once Upon a Time is really good. I did enjoy that.
I never got into it.
I did enjoy that.
Grimm, he hunts. He starts fighting
I've
for-
seen a few
Okay.
episodes.
Yeah, I definitely.
I think I watched the first episode and I didn't click with it, but I never went back.
Oh, you
I
gotta
watched
keep-
it with
you
a
gotta keep
girl. I
pushing.
was trying to get
the first 3 or 4 is like, but after
Episodes?
it starts, first
Oh.
3 episodes.
Can
Yeah,
you
'cause I
edit that out so Lauren don't hurt me?
Yeah, I'll cut that out.
But yeah, man, I think like the first 3 episodes are kind of rough. But
Yeah,
after
because I
that-
only watched the first episode.
after that it starts rolling. But what I wanted, did you hear about Steven Yeun leaving? He was going to play Sentry.
I love him in everything he does.
Everything
I
he
did
does.
think him playing Sentry was a weird choice.
I did too.
I will admit.
I would pick Skarsgård.
I can see that.
Alex. I'd pick Alex. For
Sentry-
you, a knockoff Superman, I guess. It's like he has the power of what, 10 million suns?
Gee, why you gotta
Is it
say
10
it like
million
that?
or 10,000?
10,000, I
I
think.
think 10,000 suns.
Okay.
I don't know if you know.
But he's crazy.
Yeah, he can't know that he has powers. Like his arch nemesis is himself. The Void.
It's really weird.
That sounds kind of cheesy.
You gotta erase his memory of himself.
So we got a Men in Black him.
It's really weirdly done, but it works.
It's really it's smart in how they do it, but it's not. They don't erase his brain in a cheesy way.
Yeah. You're going cheesy because it's really easy to be cheesy, but they actually go. It goes back to moral quandary. It's always playing with the morals of things.
Right. Now, don't get me wrong. I love cheesy shit. Like,
He's
just
trying to be like me.
Huh?
It's like he's trying to be like me.
Nah, not at all. I mean, like it like I said, Cocaine Bear, cheesy as shit. Like it was bad, but
He
it was
said
so
Cocaine
good.
Shark. I was like, bro.
I didn't even know that was the
Cocaine,
thing.
I think
cocaine
they're
shark.
making movies up.
Like
Jason's over here making a little stop motion shark
We need to.
while he's doing cocaine.
like you just see white powder all over my shark.
He's doing the cocaine off the shark's back.
Off the shark. But
Who's
nah, like,
sniffing who? Why are my eyes dilated?
my eyes are watering off you.
Lord
bro.
comes home and Jason's bouncing off the walls.
Is this why you were Oh my god!
Oh man.
Why are the dishes clean?
Like I keep hearing.
What's their powder everywhere?
I keep hearing pitches for Cillian Murphy to be Doom.
To be Doom?
Yeah, and I would love it. I would love it.
I really hope they don't replace Kang with Doom in the middle of this
I
saga.
don't. No, not
If
at
you're
all.
gonna recast Kang, just recast Kang, but don't put Doom in. Doom deserves his own storyline, his own arc.
If you could see anyone
Playing
introduced-
Doom?
No, introduced a character who hasn't been.
Well, I definitely want Doom introduced in the Fantastic Four movie.
Right.
I want to get the X-Men in there already, and I want them to, for once, do Cyclops right.
Oh my god.
Stop making everything about Wolverine. He's not that important.
I think
it's the first episode of this podcast, so it's going to be going around about how Wolverine's not important.
He kind of cheap, if you ask me. Kind of cheap.
I don't know how many podcasts we've heard John go on a rant.
No. Because fuck him.
He sold out the mutant people. I'm just gonna put that out there. He's a sellout.
That's hilarious.
He can heal. He got claws. He can communicate with animals.
That power is always kind of iffy. He has an affiliation with animals. He's not Aquaman talking to them.
Bro, that shit that happened with that bear in that movie was some bullshit. I said, wait. I said, what the fuck is going on?
But he has an affinity with animals. He doesn't actually communicate with them.
So there was a comic, I think, where Magneto takes all the metal out of him.
Oh, I have that issue.
And then he progresses into
he
what's
very more primal.
Like what Sabretooth
yeah.
is. And it was like the Adamantium is keeping this progression at bay.
Well, I think it was also the pain of it. Because Wolverine's thing is his memory also heals pain. And it fucks him up. So it made him lose a lot of the civilization stuff that he's had in a long time. Oh. So he becomes very animalistic, and he gives into his... He's not even living in the mansion. He's living in the woods outside the mansion for a while. Like, it's real.
He loses his nose and grows a snout and shit. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck is that?
It's definitely... Wolverine's an interesting character. I just think he's overplayed. I think we need to put more emphasis on Cyclops.
Yes.
I would definitely love a Cyclops film. Like a really well done Cyclops film.
I would love a Storm film, but it has to be done correctly.
It does, but I'm gonna throw this out there, and I know Marvel will never do this, but it can't be 10 episode seasons. But I want an X-Men show more than I want X-Men movies.
Yes. Yeah,
I think you could do more with it.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, I love Rogue, and I'd really like to see more Rogue done correctly.
Like because now
you'll never get Rogue's best storyline in the MCU because Captain Marvel's their moneymaker right now, and in order for you to get Rogue's main storyline, she has to put Captain Marvel in a coma.
Yep.
They're not going to do that. Because all of Rogue's powers from the 90s were Captain Marvel's powers that she stole.
Fucking shitty. And that's the reason why I hate Captain Marvel. I'm not a fan.
Do you remember when Captain Marvel showed up in Rogue's dreams in the X-Men cartoon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what really messed me up?
That was before she was Captain Marvel. That was back when she was like Warbird.
I would have done a...
I can't wait till X-Men 97.
Right. I would have done a Nick Fury show.
Did you ever see the Nick Fury movie with David Hasselhoff?
Yes. And before anybody corrects me, yeah, you got Secret Invasion. No, I would have did a Nick Fury show.
I did. Secret Invasion, I think, is Marvel's weakest product.
It is. Well,
and so
the Marvels.
I love the Marvels.
You did?
I did. I'm a big Camilla Khan fan. Like, I love Miss Marvel.
The interchangeability kind of messed me up. But I
thought it was a weird premise, but I enjoyed it. But I love Camilla Khan.
I feel, I think it was stronger.
And Monica Rambeau is one of my favorite Avengers.
It was, well, it was stronger than Secret Invasion. But I'm telling you that I needed a Nick Fury show where Nick Fury is the spy. Like, every time we see him, hey, Nick Fury's a spy. That what beats me up is the fact that he lost his eye to that damn cat.
Yeah, that was such a stupid thing.
That was dumb as shit.
I will say, too, the ending of Secret Invasion, they hinted at, and then the director came out and said, yeah, no, that's what we were going for, was that James Rhodes was abducted right after Civil War. And if they ever make that official, it will be the stupidest decision you could ever make.
Right after Civil War?
Right after Civil War.
Bullshit, because Rhodey's bleeding red. The compound blows up.
Yes.
That's bullshit.
Yes, and also that goodbye between him and Tony Stark. What, that was a scroll? That's fucking stupid. And also, I would argue the time he was the biggest superhero was during the blimp. Why would you take that away from him? And the conversation he had with Sam, with the Falcon at the beginning, you're taking that away from him too? All of his important shit you're taking away from him? No.
Bullshit. And then...
It's fucking idiotic.
Somebody was like, what if Rhodey comes out of the coma or whatever, and it's like, who's Iron Man? I said, I wish you fucking would.
Look how red he is. I didn't even have to do anything this episode. That's a check for me.
I really hope they never acknowledge that, because that would make me so mad.
That would piss me off.
You can't take away everything he did. But I did hear one thing when it was coming out. It was like, what if Terrence Howard walks out of the compound? And I was like, you know what? I would take back everything.
I would. Stop.
If Terrence Howard walked out of the compound, I would change everything.
I would. Somebody's like, who's gonna play this game?
I saw that, and they're like, Marvel could do the funniest thing ever and cast Terrence Howard. But he hates Marvel. He would never come back.
Oh yeah, no. Terrence is very anti-Marvel.
All
right.
Dog.
We're gonna wrap up.
All right, we're wrapping up. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Mike.
Well, Mike, you want to say one more thing? You were about to say one more thing.
About what?
Oh, and you should pimp yourself too, like
Yeah,
socials.
I should pimp myself.
Yeah,
I can pimp him. Look, check it out.
I don't know your social
I
media,
don't
your
know.
website. Like,
Come on, man.
where can people follow you?
Plug yourself.
Okay. You can follow me, Michael Phillips Rivera. Michael_Rivera official on Instagram. Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk
So
about
offended
that.
at the notion of telling people where to find them.
I'm not offended. I mean, I'm humble.
He's like, no, that's not humble. That's you need to do it for me.
Nah, I figured you would. I'm sorry.
You figured we would?
I figured you would.
Dude, I don't even know my own Instagram.
I don't either, fool.
If you look at the end of this podcast, at the end of my other podcast, it has me and Zelda's socials everywhere on it. At the end of this one, it's all of my socials and then Jason's logo, because every time I ask you for a website or anything else, you're like, we'll talk about that later. And then you never give it to me.
We'll talk about that later. JB out.
Funny as shit.
Give us legends.